Preserving the legacy of Laurel and Hardy is not only important, but takes many forms. Early next year, we'll see the release of Steve Coogan and John C. Reilly's new film, Stan and Ollie. But there are plenty of other important activities going on too. A couple of weeks back, Ross Owen, who worked as a consultant on Stan and Ollie, paid a visit to the Laurel and Hardy Museum in Stan Laurel's hometown of Ulverston. Ross is the man who first gave the boys an online presence when he started the Laurel and Hardy Forum 15 years ago. Not only that, but he was also responsible for bringing Laurel and Hardy back to cinemas all over the UK in 2015. The Laurel and Hardy Museum is overseen by Mark Greenhow, the third generation of the same family who've been running the museum since it was founded by Mark's grandfather over 40 years ago.
What can you tell us about Stan's early days here in Ulverston?
Stan's parents were living in the northeast at the time of his birth, but his mum came home to her parents' house in Ulverston to have the kids, and so Stan was born in Grandma and Grandad's house in Ulverston. And then they left him with Grandma and Grandad till he's about 5 years old. I think that's an incredible piece of information. You know, we talk about grandparents helping out with the grandkids these days, but my dad wouldn't help out with for the first 5 years.
I'm looking at some of the memorabilia you've got here. I'm particularly interested in this fez. Is this one of the original fezes from Sons of the Desert?
It is, yeah. This is some of the stuff that we're most proud of in the museum, and the fez is one of the absolute jewels. It's a fez worn in the film Sons of the Desert. We've got all sorts of things. I mean, we can see Spanish wine bottle holders. There are soaps from the 60s in America, money boxes, and we've even got someone donated years and years ago the marzipan from the top of their wedding cake. There's Royal Dalton stuff, and then there's a couple of guys there who came from Romania. Story behind those two: a lady went over to help with the troubles with the Romanian orphans back in the 90s. She was a single lady, had never been married, and so all of the guys in the village wanted to give her someone to look after her. And they presented her with these two statues of Laurel and Hardy, and I just think it's amazing, you know, however many years behind the Iron Curtain with no Western influences at all, but Laurel and Hardy penetrated that kind of market.
Do you happen to have any of Stan's personal items, or Ollie's personal items?
Yeah, we've got some stuff that Stan owned. I'm not sure what it says about Stan's personal life, but we have his cigarette case, his ashtray. We've got a hip flask that was given to him by his father, and a cocktail book from the Savoy Hotel.
So you're located within the Roxy Cinema here in Ulverston. How do you get your hands on memorabilia? Do you have to pay for it? Do you get funding for it?
This is a 1930s cinema. It's a beautiful building, and it's just the right place to host the Laurel and Hardy Museum. As for funding, we're entirely self-funded. We don't get any grants from anyone at all. The people who come in to see the exhibition pay a little bit on the door, and that's how we keep the lights on. Donations, we get things donated to us all the time, but whether that be some pictures, some statues, anything that's donated we look after, and we add it to this huge collection you can see around us.
One of the most exciting things for me as a fan was seeing the costumes from a couple of the movies.
We had a nice guy come into the museum. He's really interested, and we spoke for quite a while, and he said, it's a great place, this. It's just a shame you don't have any of the items from the films. And I agreed with him. We discussed how expensive and how rare this stuff is. He said, well, just leave it with me, and I'll see what I can do. It's a bit of a hobby of mine, this. So I shook his hand, and he left, and I never gave it another moment's thought until the next year. He arrived with this huge package of costumes from Swiss Miss and from Blockheads, and there's a James Finlayson waistcoat. It was a wonderful thing to loan to us. He said, you need to get some publicity from this. If it helps you, ring the papers and just mention the fact that I used to be Jive Bunny. And it just the original guy, the guy who invented Jive Bunny, was the guy who lent us this wonderful stuff. Les Hemstock, his name is. He's a DJ out in LA at the moment.
And right beside this fez that we just looked at, there's also a bowler hat there. Would that happen to belong to one of the guys?
Yeah, it was a hat that Stan wore. Unfortunately, not in the films, but he certainly wore it on stage. The guys did a huge tour of the UK on the stage after they'd finished making the films, and that was a hat that Stan wore on stage, so I'm really happy to have that in the collection. I've tried it on. It didn't give me any comedy genius, but we're happy to have it.
We just spoke to a young man who's come all the way over from Australia to see the museum. Do you get a lot of that? What kind of people do you get in?
We get people from all over the world, and we get people of all ages, and it's one of the best things about the museum is that they're still so universal. And that's one of the furthest anyone's travelled to see us, I think, but we regularly get people from Europe and of course America, and we're in the school holidays at the moment, so we get a lot of families in. The best part of the job is listening to the kids still enjoying these old 80 and 90-year-old films.
And you still show the films as well here in the building to anybody who wants to come in and watch Laurel and Hardy?
Yes, we do. Yeah, you can come in and watch a Laurel and Hardy film, and that's all part of our ethos, which is to keep Laurel and Hardy alive, which I think is something you love to do as well, Ross, isn't it?
We put the movies back on in the cinemas a couple of years ago. I think, you know yourself, the response was just incredible, wasn't it? People just were coming from all over. Cinemas were selling out all over the country, and that was so great to see. Different ages, so many different generations all coming out to see Laurel and Hardy in a cinema the way they were made to be seen.
Yeah, the films, when you watch them on your own at home, they feel very empty. There's a lot of space in a Laurel and Hardy film. But what people don't realise is that when you fill that space with 300 people laughing, it just increases the experience again. The films become better with an audience.
Now let's get this place cleaned up.
Memories of the Music Box, my favourite Stan Lolly film. Oh, that piano and that famous flight of stairs ending Ross Owen's visit to the Laurel and Hardy Museum in Ulverston, curated by the ever-hospitable, not to mention hugely knowledgeable, Mark Greenhow. I'll leave you once more with the thoughts of Yvette Fielding and Ross Owen, not to mention a final word or two from Laurel and Hardy.
People are born with raw talent. Those two were geniuses. The way that they connected with each other, I think, was the most important thing. You have to connect with another person. If you're going to do a double act, it's got to be right. Look at Morecambe and Wise. They were made and sent down for us and to be together, and I don't think you'll ever, ever, ever beat them.
Stan, before he died, knew how popular Laurel and Hardy were. There was the cartoon had come out, he knew about that, the Larry Harmon cartoon series, the Sons of the Desert Society, which he was there for the birth of that. So he knew how popular they were. In his final words on his deathbed, he said to the nurse, I wish I was skiing right now. And the nurse said, I didn't know you skied, Mr. Laurel. He said, yeah, but I'd rather be doing that than this. And then he died.
That's all there is. There isn't any more. Is there, Stanley?
No, that's our story, and we're stuck with it. In it.
This is BBC Radio 2, online, on digital radio, and on 88 to 91 FM.